Hi, my name is Philipp BenediktBecker, and today I want to briefly present my research on CEO cognition and strategic change in an advancing tenure context. I work on this project with my supervisor, Patricia Klana. To make it a little bit more interesting, I only have 5 minutes and 5 slides, so let's dive right in. Being a CEO is obviously a very challenging task, and it's important for academics and practitioners to know what are the key cognitive characteristics that enable CEOs to excel at that task. And behavioral strategy scholars highlight 2 key cognitive characteristics, being cognitive complexity, which refers to the size and interconnectedness of the CEO's mental representation of the firm and the environment, as well as cognitive flexibility, which refers to the capacity to adapt said mental representation over time. However, we argue that depending on the circumstances, both can become a double-edged sword. Cognitive complexity can lead to an overload of strategic demands, which ultimately decreases the capacity to make decisive strategic action. And cognitive flexibility can lead to an over-flexibility, which again decreases the capacity to make decisive strategic action. So it's important for CEOs to know what are the boundary conditions that could provoke these drawbacks. And we argue that the advancing CEO tenure is this key contingency. So we address the research question, how does CEO tenure affect the relationship between CEO cognition and strategic change? So we argue, or we need to model the CEO's cognition over a very long period of time. And in order to do so, we leverage a new methodological approach that we developed, and it uses topic modeling in conjunction with network analysis. So we use transcripts of quarterly earning calls of S&P 500 companies between 2001 and 2020, and then train a latent threshold allocation topic model on this data set. And it's a huge data set. It's 55,000 conference calls with around 8,000 words each. This trained topic model then allows us to identify the topics that the CEO engaged during each individual conference call. And we use this information, the topics that were engaged, in order to transform it into a network structure. Here we see that topics 17 and 18 were engaged during this exemplary quote. So they form 2 nodes and they are engaged within the same sequence. So we argue that they are logically linked. So we take the 2 nodes and link them with an edge in order to transform the huge amount of textual data into a network structure. And this allows us to then create those, I think they're beautiful network structures that represent the cognitive map of the CEO for every single conference call where this person was present. I said we wanted to not only do it for one conference call, but for every single conference call where the CEO was present. Here we have the example of Inge Thulin for Q1, but we also have it for every other quarter where the CEO was present. And this allows us then to track those 2 key cognitive characteristics over time and see how they develop over the course of a tenure. And what we find is that the CEO's tenure actually moderates the relationship between CEO cognition and strategic change. And we find that CEOs, long tenured CEOs that are cognitive complex, tend to do very little strategic change or lower amounts of strategic change. While CEOs that are long tenured and are cognitive flexible are able to continuously initiate strategic change even as their tenure progresses. What are our contributions? First, we show that the relationship between cognition and strategic action is not constant over time, and we need to advance a dynamic understanding of the interplay between managerial cognition and strategic action. Also, we show that cognitive flexibility is a key characteristic that enables CEO to overcome the cognitive challenges that are associated with increasing tenure. And finally, of course, we have the new methodological approach that I just showed that allows us to model CEO cognitive maps over long periods of time. I'm very happy that I was able to quickly present my research. If you have any questions or want to discuss it with me, feel free to reach out. I would love to discuss that. And I look forward to meet everyone at the SMS.